So for 4 years she can lay eggs, and each one she fertilizes when she lays it. Now she mates that one time right after she matures as an adult from a larva. Never in her life again will she mate. Those have to last the rest of her life. One last picture of bee foraging. It looks to me somewhat like a wild rose. On the bee's leg and body, you can see a ball of yellow on the leg. That is pollen. And they gather that, and they have what we call pollen baskets on their legs. They're hairs, and the leg has a cup shape, and she stores the pollen there and has one on each rear leg. And when you see them walking into the hive, it looks like they've got on yellow pantaloons. You see these little yellow dots marching into the hive. And that is their food. Now, as an example, here's a stone fossil, a replica of one from 3 million years ago. And that fossil looks exactly like one of today's wasps. So they are very successful as a family. The family is called Hymenoptera, meaning a gauzy wing. And in that family you have yellow jackets, bumblebees, hornets, and wasps, and honeybees. And there are 3 predominant kinds of honeybees, but there are many others which are bees, but are not what we call honeybees, because they live hand to mouth. And very often they're solitary bees. They do not live in a colony. I'm going to pause there and turn it over to you for questions. Oh, no questions? I'll give you some answers.
Where do bumblebees fit in?
Bumblebees are in the same family, and they live in your backyard. They're fairly benign. They look big and they make a big roar, but they don't attack until they actually start tearing up the nest. And they make a little bit of honey, and they have what we call honey pots. They don't have combs. And they store that honey, but they don't save it for the winter. Honeybees eat it all year, and they save some for the winter, so they can live through. But bumblebees die off in the fall, whereas the honeybee hive keeps going year after year. And the bumblebees of this year's crop, let's say, will all die this fall except for the new queens, who will mate and live through the winter and hibernate someplace. Next year, each individual queen will start her own little nest. And they very often go in old mouse holes in the ground. And that's where they live. Mark?
You know, you said bees make the honey not for you, but for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't take the honey out, eventually what would happen to all of that honey?
Nobody ever leaves them. Leaves them fine. But the bees living in the wild, for instance, in a hollow tree, do not store the great quantity of honey we get in our hives. And they eat it all during the winter. Our bees couldn't eat all the honey we have during the winter. So what would happen next spring, with an excess of honey on hand, the hive would grow to a large population and be too large, the hive, too large to take care of. So the hive would, in effect, split in two. The queen and half the bees would fly off and look for a new home. And that's actually the reproduction of the bees. Bees do not reproduce by the queen laying eggs. They reproduce by producing another queen and another hive. And the old queen goes to the new hive, and in her place, a new queen will be raised to take her place and carry the old hive.
How long does it take for you to become a queen bee?
From the egg to the adult is 12 days.
To be a queen bee?
Yes.
Wow.
Royal jelly is very powerful. Years ago, there was a great deal of interest in it. People were making makeup from royal jelly. It was being sold and advertised all over the place. And a group of us run a show up at Topfield Fair, put on a big exhibit, and people would come and ask me about this makeup which had royal jelly. And I would say, well, it's powerful stuff. If you want to look like a queen bee, go ahead and use this makeup. You make shades. But it has no effect on us. It's sold as an elixir sometimes. People take it. Chinese love it. They think it produces a virile man, you know.
Now, how many queen bees can live in a hive? Just one?
One. There's actually, one of the nice things the honeybees have in hand is they never have trouble with mother-in-laws. Because there's only one queen in the hive, and her mother will not move in and stay with her.
If a new one is produced then every 12 days, where does she go?
Well, when they produce new queens, let's say that hive is a going hive, it's full of bees, and I go in there and I take the queen away.
Oh,
So they have no queen.
yeah.
For 24 hours, they will never know she's missing because they go by smell, not by physical presence. And I literally, without danger to myself, can reach into a hive and pick up a queen and take her out. 24 hours later, her smell is gone. They've got an emergency because without a queen, the hive will die. So they go to one of the eggs she laid before I took her out. They feed her that royal jelly so that that egg matures as a queen. But they don't do it for one egg. They do it for about 8 or 10, maybe more. And the first queen out's the lucky one because she kills all her sister queens. The queen in a hive is a survivor. This is called, selection of the fittest. And when those new queens come out, if two come out at once, two are loose at once, they will fight and kill each other. If they're not out of the cell, they will stab through the wall of the cell and kill the other queen. Nobody says a word, nobody misses her. But, I've been keeping bees for over 50 years, and they're dumb. They can't learn anything. I've never been able to teach them one thing. So what we have to do is accommodate to their instincts. Even the frames and the spacing in there is determined by the instinct of the bees. There has to be clearance between one frame of another, one frame and the next, of about 3/8 of an inch. That's called the bee space. If I make it closer, you'll just seal it up, and nothing gets in, and they're locked together. If I make it too big, you build burr comb in there, that is straight comb, to close up till they get the space they want. So everything's based on their instincts. So remember I told you that each one in the family, queen, worker, drone, has its own set of instincts. And that's in them from the instant the egg is laid, or until it's fed royal jelly. Because the queen and the worker are both female. I can pick up a queen and she won't sting me. She'll only sting another queen. I can pick up a worker and look out. That bee's going to try to sting me. So very strange, but totally by instinct. And that is a true communistic society. Communism, is all for the state, nothing for the individual. Except in human communism, the chief takes it off the top. Stalin lived very well. And he murdered 14 million people, but he lived very well. Honeybees, if you don't do your job, you're done. Queen doesn't lay enough eggs, they throw her out, produce a new queen. The worker gets injured or can't do her job, she'll walk away to die if she can't fly, to keep the hive clean. The drones, they're there for a season. They're an insurance policy. They have no use for a drone until they have a new queen. So they talk about the lazy drones. They don't gather honey, they don't clean the hive, they don't clean the queen, just hang around. But they're a vital insurance policy. I remember having an argument once about something with a woman, and I was telling her, cancel the fire insurance on your house. Your house is not on fire. But who's going to sell you insurance when your house is burning? So the drone has to be there beforehand. It takes 12 days to raise a queen. It takes 25 days to raise a drone. So if the drone isn't in place, there's no one to mate with a new queen. As a matter of fact, they don't mate in the hive, they mate on the wing. And the drones have a habit. If there are 40 hives in this area, the drones will all gather in one place, all together. And the new queen, the virgin queen, will fly into that patch of drones, and the fastest one is the one who mates with her. And she does that 6 or 8 times. I don't know if she's smiling or not, but then she goes back to the hive and starts her service laying eggs. And never again will she mate. Queens, yeah.
You had mentioned you were going to say something about royal jelly. I mean,
Yeah, royal jelly is that special food which produces the queen. The worker bees and glands in their heads produce not saliva like we do, but produce a thick, milky white with a paste they've created by eating honey and pollen, and these glands transform that into royal jelly. It's so viscous that, like honey, it will not fall out if you turn so the hive, the cell opening is down. And when the bee that is to become a queen sits in there, she's literally in a bed of royal jelly. And the bees only eat for about 6 days, by the way. Egg is laid, the egg hatches after 3 days. They eat for 6 days, gain weight 1,500 times from the egg, and then go through metamorphosis, where they transform from a grub into an adult bee, whatever adult bee that is. So everything is well organized and been set by instinct, and is one of nature's, I think, marvelous creations. So you look at your hand, and I don't know if you've seen an x-ray. Your fingers don't end here, they end down in here. And there's a bunch of ligaments and bones tied in there that give you the flexibility in your hand. Well, the bee has those physical adaptations too. I mentioned that the pollen basket was on their legs. They smell through their antenna, and they go up, for instance, and they smell and caress the queen, and then they turn around, they pass that smell from one bee to another. So every bee in the hive knows the queen is there and she's okay by smell. Most of them never see her, and most of them never see me. If I go in a hive once or twice a week, those bees only live 5 weeks in the summer, the workers. But many of them never see me. But they never see the queen, but that's no matter. The smell tells them everything is all right. Matter of fact, bees are good communicators, but you have to know what the signals are. I have a garden in front of my hive. I'm working the garden. 1 or 2 bees will come out and fly up and down in front of my face. Just not a foot out. Fly up and down. You can hear them buzzing. And they're telling me I better get out of there, it's going to be trouble. If I don't leave, the pitch in the wings go up. And I know they're getting excited. So at that point, I can decide to leave, kill the bees, or get stung. But they're left to my decision. They did not overtly come out and attack me. So the stories of bees being very aggressive is not true. For instance, away from the hive, a bee has a purpose in life. The purpose is to get food, nectar, pollen, or water, and they use water to cool the hive by evaporating it. They do not want to get into a fight with anybody because they will die and they will not get the food back to the hive. So these are things they do by instinct. We learn what they are and we behave accordingly. If I open a hive in the winter, it's interesting, or cold weather, the bees are up in the top of the inner cover, which is this piece here. This rests on the box with a comb in it, and there's another cover over this to make it weatherproof. They'll be standing around on here, and they all point their abdomens, that's the back end of the bee, up in the air, and the stinger comes out and points at me. And on each stinger is a little drop of venom, bee venom. And it has a very acrid smell, and it's their alarm smell. And so if I open the hive in the cool weather, it's too cold for them to fly, they just stand on the cover, point their abdomens up in the air, and put the stinger out, and I can smell that acrid smell. And it's just like a big pincushion when you look down at it.
Oh, wow.
You don't put your hand on it. Take care of that.